前的英雄联盟粉丝们，下午好！欢迎各位来到由天虹厂商独家公布播出的2014英雄联盟职业联赛夏季赛的直播现场。健康美丽喝彩由天虹茶商蜂蜜柚子茶，电脑用的酒就选极佳超难酒逻辑机系列决胜科技。网友咖一起来更精彩，全网最低价就在 TG3C.PL1.CN。本联赛由技嘉、罗技、网友咖、TG3C 数码商城联合赞助播出。雷霆注意颠覆战局，感谢雷神笔记本电脑对本次联赛的大力支持。各位好，我是宝宝，今天又见面了。今天呢是我们夏季赛第一周的第2天的比赛日了。我相信昨天的2场对决一定会给大家留下非常深刻的印象。昨天的第1场呢，安琪是以2比0完胜了 YG， 取得了自己在夏季赛上的第1场胜利。那么昨天第2场 OMG 对阵 EDG 的时候，双方队伍也可以说是实力不相上下，为我们上演了非常焦灼又精彩的2场战争。最终呢，双方是战成了1比1平。那今天有哪些好看的对决等待着我们呢？一起来关注下赛程版。首先16点到18点由 LGD 对阵皇族，19点到21点由 WE 对阵 WEA。那今天呢，我相信更多朋友会关注这2场对决。
Good morning, very early morning it is. I am Frostgren. Unfortunately, Nero will not be joining us this morning. Again, apologies for the confusion, technical difficulties, so we're not able to stream right at this moment on the official Games in Asia stream, but I stepped in with my personal stream. So Nero is not with us this morning, but I am Frostgren. With me is Kelsey Moser, the LPL journalist for On Gamers, Paravine, LOL Esports, and Daily Dot. Did I miss one in there?
I help out with Paravine. I'm not they do a lot of stuff on their own too, so. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that you got covered there. I also help out with Gosu Gamers, but anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about the games today. It's going to be really exciting. We have, first up, LGD Gaming versus Starhorn Royal Club. And of course, a lot of you may have heard of Insec joining Starhorn Royal Club, along with Zero from the KT organization, so that's going to be really exciting. Changes coming to LGD as well, with 17 joining in the bottom lane and Wayless joining in the mid lane.
And you are correct indeed, so good matchups to pretty much open this off. The second set of matches today will be the sister teams, World Elite and World Elite Academy facing off. Of course, we'll have more to say about those teams, but that announcer that was just on the stage, obviously she did a little bit of recap of what happened yesterday, so touching base with you, for those of you who didn't see, didn't join, didn't catch it, it was OMG versus EDG, which was a split 1-1, which historically EDG has never beaten OMG in an LPL season. Of course, IAT playoffs, very different set of rules there. And then Young Glory versus their sister team, Invictus Gaming. So, do you want to talk about a little bit of recap on those games?
Yeah, those games were pretty interesting to watch. First of all, for the Young Glory versus Invictus Gaming, we saw a lot more wards than we typically see in LPL games. Those weren't exactly the most efficiently placed wards, but it's interesting to see the scene evolving a little bit with Vision. We also saw Yongsoo in the top lane, the new top laner for Invictus Gaming, the Korean top laner. Those games kind of went a little bit long. I believe Young Glory got a huge advantage in the first game and ended up losing a Baron to Invictus Gaming. So
quite a steal from Illusion it was, actually.
Oh, yeah. There were a lot of Baron steals yesterday, right? There were Baron steals in the OMG and EDG game, too.
There was a lot of passing back and forth of major important objectives, but Illusion definitely came up huge on that Baron steal in their first game against Young Glory. It looked very grim for IG. Of course, Kid had a fantastic performance. The mid Renekton from Z-Tai, I feel like he was really regretting that pick, but they did manage to scrape by with a 2-0 sweep over their sister team, which unfortunately Young Glory coming into LPL has a lot to prove, as well as World Elite Academy. These LSPL teams now, of course, taking the spots of Last Split, Positive Energy, and Energy Pacemaker Hong Kong.
Yeah, so there was an auto-relegation process. So for those of you who don't know, both Young Glory and World Elite Academy automatically got into LPL by placing first and second in LSPL. There was no promotion like we see in North America and European LCS. So they kind of have to prove that they belong here, I guess, by trying to take out some games. And Young Glory wasn't successful yesterday, but maybe World Elite Academy will be today. So a little bit more background on LGD Gaming and Starhorn Royal Club as we talk a little bit more about those teams. Starhorn Royal Club, in addition to Insect and Zero joining, we also have new solo laners. So the only person from last split who will be returning is UZI, which a lot of you are familiar with from Worlds, or Uzi. He's also been called Uzi. But we have Cola in the top lane, and we have Korn coming from the mid lane, both star players in their own right in solo queue. And then on LGD Gaming, we have 2 mid laners actually joining, but we'll get into that more as we break down the rosters.
And again, just to kind of keep you talking as the casters kind of set up the stage for the players to take the stage. You talked about warding, you talked about the Korean influence. I wanted to really touch on the Korean influence because today's team have a lot of Korean influence coming from coaches, coming from players. I mean, obviously Starhorn has probably the most quote-unquote stars, at least from the Korean scene, coming down into them. But there was actually a recent interview that On Gamers did as far as the background coaching staff. So can you elaborate a little bit on that, Kelsey?
Yeah, so this was conducted by Ryan Lue, who's the Chinese esports journalist who occasionally does some stuff for On Gamers. The background on the coaching is pretty interesting. They have a Chinese coach, Chris, who used to play with Tabe, used to play with Whites. And they have a Korean coach, Vaikal, from the KT organization. And so it's interesting to see when you talk to Chris in the interview, Chris says, you know, I don't think there are many differences between Korean and Chinese strategies, and then when they ask a similar question to the Korean coach Vaikal, he says, you know, sometimes we disagree a lot. So it's interesting to see these two perspectives, to see maybe there's even some communication issues within the coaching staff, and we'll see how those two things work out. They said Chris is primarily focused on the LPL games and making sure that the players can adapt to the LPL scene, and Vaikal is primarily responsible for things like bringing the Korean strategy over, trying to create those sorts of situations.
And speaking of the language barrier, because obviously people keep bringing it up, you know, these Korean players, they don't speak Chinese. Information comes to me that Young-Soo, the Korean top laner for Invictus Gaming, actually does speak Chinese, which is why he got that position, but also on the coaching staff for Starhorn, they've actually picked up a Chinese instructor to help teach Vaikal, the coach for Starhorn, as well as Insect and Zero.
Yeah, so they have picked up the Chinese instructor who does live in the house with them. If you check out that On Gamers interview, there is actually a picture of him teaching Insect English. So, you know, that, I mean, not English, Chinese. Wow.
I wish they could all speak English. That'd be fantastic, so we could get some more talent in an A.
As a segue, though, Zero and UZI do speak a little bit of English between each other, and so they're able to communicate in that bot lane, so we see some interesting plays from them, and they're very proud of the synergy they've developed in this short time.
And definitely we'll see if that synergy comes to play off. Kind of the narrative for today going into the LGD Starhorn game, however. LGD... let's not even beat around the bush. A team riddled with a lot of issues right now. They were for a long time kind of considered a patch team. They found great success on their top lane Star, who played Riven with kind of an Ori combo going on. Of course, you have the hyper AD carry, which is no longer playing for them due to a 6-month ban. Is actually playing for Energy Pacemaker, I believe now?
He will be playing for Energy Pacemaker. He was transferred to the organization. I'm not sure which team he'll go on or even if he'll be a starting member, but he was transferred to the teams, to the organization. But now we have Wayless coming into the mid lane, who was on Vici Gaming, which was a 3rd place LSPL team. He has a reputation for wanting to make the hero plays, for being the huge playmaker. So the story there is maybe he's the replacement for STYZ. STYZ, who was banned from the organization, was also kind of the big carry of the team. But we're getting into the rosters.
Yeah, and so it looks like we are going to start with Starhorn World Club. In the top lane is going to be Cola. Traditionally plays Renekton Shyvana. He is known in solo queue for his Jax and Shyvana scores, however. That is not Frieza on that picture. That is a Renekton next to him. I know the Chinese art is sometimes a little strange there. So, of course, Starhorn World Club picking up, like you said, those new kind of star solo lane powers, as well as also having an AD carry superstar. In the jungle, of course, is going to be Insect, coming off of the KT bullets. Now, obviously, Insect was quote-unquote benched. He walked away from the team. Now, that's not to say that Insect is the best jungler in Korea, but he's definitely not the worst to bring over into China, and I'm personally very excited to kind of see what he can teach the LPL junglers. He says he really looks forward to facing off particularly against Clearlove. In the Demacia Cup on Monday, we did see him pull out the Rengar jungle, but likes to play Lee Sin, likes to play Kha'Zix. He is a hyper carry late game jungler.
And here we have Korn. He's played with the team already at the International Esports Tournament. They weren't able to take any games at the International Esports Tournament when they faced Invictus Gaming. However, Korn has a reputation for being one of the best mid laners not in LPL before. Now he is, of course, in LPL. He was on a team called King that didn't even manage to qualify for LSPL. So that just goes to show how much talent there is in the scene, that they can dip into this amateur team that didn't even make it into the scene. And of course we have Uzi coming up. He is known for his Caitlyn and Vayne, so it's interesting that those are his recent champion picks there. He also played some Severe last split, but definitely he will always fall back on the Vayne play. That's like kind of his big champion that he goes for, that he's known for.
And then bringing it up is going to be Zero in that support role, another Korean coming over from the KT organization, this time from KT Arrow specifically. He doesn't have a huge portfolio of playing support on a professional scene. He has played jungle on a professional scene, a little bit of support. He does say, though, that support he feels is his best role. He does prefer the jungle, but he also likes to play mid lane in his solo time.
Yeah, so he says support probably suits him best. We see him play a lot of Thresh. He likes to play a lot of Nami, especially when he duos with Uzi a lot, and they have a reputation for being really strong in solo queue right now. People don't want to go into games where Uzi and Zero are duoing, so it'll be interesting to see how well that translates into a professional setting. We'll get into a little bit more of how they've done in the Demacia Cup as we get into the game, but we are going over to LGD Gaming right here, so it'll be cool to see that starting lineup as it comes in.
And again, a lot of different changes coming from over LGD. They had their star AD carry, who now not banned, but benched for 6 months, cannot play. The new starting AD carry is going to be 17. Not really much is known on him. Strong solo queue player, but he's actually a mid laner.
Yeah, so the story there is that but let's start with PYL there. PYL is the captain for LGD Gaming, and there's a lot of confidence in PYL's play. He's known for his Thresh in particular, but I've been most impressed with him when he's played the long-range mages like Karma and Sona that bring a lot of disengage and support for the team. He's very good with those skill shots.
He's also the captain of the team,
yes.
And a lot of players have chosen to work with LGD based on how they think PYL's captain really affects the team. For this AD carry position, again, we talk about this is 17. It is not their quote-unquote star AD carry that comes out.
Yeah, it's not, and we're saying star a lot, who's actually the name of their top laner, but STYZ would be that player, and it's Wayless that you were referring to. He had offers from other teams, but he chose to work for LGD Gaming. But 17 actually is more known for playing mid laners in solo queue than AD carry, so we'll see how he transitions.
And then here is the big hero of it all, the mid lane Wayless. Again, you talked about how Ryan in his interview, he said that Wayless is very well known in the solo queue scene as being very powerful, but he tends to have a little bit of a hero complex, and he tends to be difficult to work with. And what we mean by hero complex is he likes to be the carrier of the game, he likes to be the star, he likes to go deep and dive, which can really spell disaster for a team if they're not coordinated around it.
Yeah, but like we said, LGD Gaming sort of looking for someone to fill that role after SDYZ left, so this could be a good match for him, perhaps. And then we have Chuan, the jungler. Chuan, actually, I've mostly been impressed with him when he plays Lee Sin. When he plays Lee Sin, LGD Gaming will get the first dragon. They will take the first tower. They will get the first gank off. He's very aggressive, very strong Lee Sin player, but when he plays other champions, LGD tends to lose. That's definitely a target ban against them.
And then in the top lane, it is going to be Star. We keep talking about how LGD was considered for a long time a patch team. When Riven was strong, LGD was incredibly powerful with an Ori, Riven combination there. Unfortunately, with the nerfs to Riven came the nerfs to Star, and he's really been struggling to find another footing and a place for LGD. Going into this summer split, predictions of LGD aren't very high as far as the Chinese fan base is concerned. We're looking middle of the bracket, possibly lower end bracket from them.
A lot of people predict they will be in last place, but that makes them an underdog, so this could be an exciting match if they manage to show up Starhorn Royal Club here. Starhorn Royal Club did have some issues with maybe some communication where Insect got caught out. Their warding deteriorated towards mid-game. They had issues with UZI and Zero being pushed really far forward when we saw them in the Demacia Cup, and that just wasn't punished at all. So if LGD can capitalize on some of those mistakes that are coming out with Starhorn and their new lineup as they're trying to get used to each other, they might be able to pull an upset here, which would be pretty exciting to watch. Star, an interesting statistic.
Just speak louder.
An interesting statistic on Star is that when he played Riven, his KDA was, I guess, over 10. It was like 11.7, I believe, and then when he played other champions, it was around 2. So that just shows like the discrepancy between him playing Riven and him playing other champions.
And obviously, we're just waiting to get to champ select here. So I guess, Kelsey, I'll hook it over to you. For this game, I will be your play-by-play caster. Normally, Nero is the play-by-play caster, so I do apologize in advance if I fumble with this one. Kelsey is going to be taking over my job as the color caster or the analyst for this one. Obviously, has the reputation and the knowledge behind it, so we'll probably drop more knowledge bombs than I'm capable of. Again, apologies as this comes out. But we are in Champion Select, so right off the bat, Starhorn Royal Club already dropping the Soraka Kale bans while LGD drops that Braum ban.
Yeah, so we've seen Braum banned consistently. Braum has been banned consistently in LPL. We've seen him come out in LCS with somewhat mixed results, but he is banned consistently in LPL so far. Soraka, people don't want to deal with. It's still on patch 4.8. People don't want to deal with that Soraka. Kale is definitely a hyper carry. Rengar, a target ban against Starhorn Royal Club because Insect did play Rengar both games in the Demacia Cup. He sort of used that pick to abuse the lack of vision that Chinese teams have sort of become known for.
It's going to finish up these bans with that LeBlanc ban coming out. Of course, LeBlanc considered a very strong champion. Going up against Wayless, not surprised to see that go down, and it's going to finish up with a Lulu ban, but that leaves Kassadin open, and it's already being hovered over, and there's a lock-in for Korn.
Yeah, so Korn, really strong reputation. We'll see if Wayless, who also has a really strong reputation, so the mid lane matchup should be really exciting. And the Lee Sin for Chuan does go through. I'm really not surprised to see it picked up, and the Thresh for PYL.
And of course, that Lee Sin ban, by them taking Kassadin, is going to deny Insect his quote-unquote star champion. But Quan also plays a lot of that, so we'll be curious to see what Insect will go through here. Again, this is patch 4.8, so Kha'Zix is still strong. Definitely a viable option for Insect here. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go down. Zero, the Nami being hovered over for him. Again, a Korean player. He knows the Korean meta. Nami been popular in OGN for quite a while with that pickup. Still hovering over the jungle. Oh, but it actually looks like they're going to save the jungle, pick up the AD carry, looking for a very traditional Korean bot lane with those hovers. But it might go Jax now.
Yeah, so Cola has a lot of reputation for playing Jax, as you already mentioned, in solo queue. We saw him play Jax in Demacia Cup. He kind of just got to roam around a lot without pressure and find a lot of early kills that helped him out.
And you can hear the crowd go wild as they hover over Riven. We talked about how Star is known for his Riven play. That's pretty much, it's like Kids Ezreal, it's the pocket Riven pick, it's his comfort champion. The Jax Riven matchup, though, can't say I'm really in favor for that. They essentially kind of do the same thing as far as what they want to come out and do, be those big hyper carries. Unfortunately, I feel like Jax does that 10 times better and brings a lot more resistances and tankiness with it, but it does get locked in as well as the Twitch for 17 there.
Yeah, so when LGD had Rina in the mid lane, they played a lot of Riven with Orianna, and they set up those wombo combos really well, and it just melted people. So we'll have to see what Wayless comes out with. I don't know if he'll be wanting to play that more supportive role as much, and we do see Insect with the Kha'Zix pick.
And of course, that was expected. Insect likes the Kazakhs. He likes to make plays. He was the playmaker for KT Bullets when he did have his short stint there as their jungler. Not much really changed when he came over to Starhorn, so yes, this is technically Insect's first game in LPL Split, but we did already see him a little bit in the Demacia Cup. He pulled out his Rengar, like you said. Came out pretty hot and heavy. Uzi has said that he likes having Insect on the team because before it was just him late game as a hyper carry, and now he doesn't have to bear that burden all on his own, so definitely looking to Insect to help him carry Starhorn Royal Club late game, and with that champion lineup, you definitely have a lot of threat options.
We actually see a Diana for Wayless, so this is going to be pretty cool. We rarely see Dianas. It's kind of a strange pick, given some of the changes. I guess they're going in for really dive-heavy type composition there, with the Riven and the Lee Sin and the Diana.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with that Diana pick, Wayless is probably looking for the counter to Kha'Zix, or excuse me, not Kha'Zix, Kassadin. Don't really know if there is one there, if she's going to find it. I mean, Diana doesn't scale as hard into late game as Kassadin does, and maybe able to stop his snowball kind of with her dominating lane phase, but this is actually really scary right now.
And she kind of has to push really hard early game before she gets level 6 without necessarily getting as much harass on a Kassadin as you'd like to see. So I'm not sure if that's necessarily a good counter pick against Kassadin. And it will definitely leave her vulnerable to ganks. And we saw in Demacia Cup Insect focusing that mid lane, so that could be very dangerous for Wayless.
The big issue here and kind of the wild card is the communication on Starhorn, however. We did see that in the Demacia Cup, Insect did feed First Blood right out of the gate. There seemed to be a little bit of a lack of communication between him and his mid laner, so we'll see if those issues have been resolved. Again, the Chinese players, excuse me, the Korean players are learning Chinese. They do have a teacher in the house with them. We'll see if the communication has improved because frankly, I give Starhorn kind of my dark horse pick as far as world's placements, but we are about to get onto the map. Excuse me, the rift. It's early, can you tell?
And we have some exciting commercials for you now. Look at that. She's opening her, giving us the wink. We're good to go.
And with this, we are onto the rift and straight into a pause, which is fine because it gives me enough time to do the announcements. So again, I am Frostgrin. I do apologize for us not broadcasting on the Games in Asia stream. Again, technical issues. We had to last minute fall back onto the stream. With me is not Niru, which it usually is. Instead, we have Kelsey Moser, we're just going to say the LPL expert for the Western world as far as extensive purposes are considered. There's a great community for LPL in the West, and you are definitely a major part of that, so very lucky to have her here. For today, I will be your play-by-play caster. I apologize in advance so much if I mess anything up. This is not normally my casting profession here. She'll be taking over my job as the color caster or the analyst with me. So it is going to be Starhorn Royal Club versus LGD. Starhorn, of course, on your blue side, LGD on the red side.
Yeah, and we're being taken out. So talking a little bit about this pause issue here, it could affect the teams, but we aren't really into the game yet. It looks like there's some issue with the LGD gaming side of things, but they're happy, they're in a good mood, so.
It's always good to see LGD in a good mood before things could possibly go terribly wrong. And you know what? The underdogs, I want to see LGD do well here. I feel like there's a lot of hype that's building around Starhorn, but unfortunately, as much as I love Insect, I love Zero, I kind of love what Starhorn's trying to do. I'm not necessarily a huge fan about importing Korean players. I don't think that the players and the individual mechanical skill is the issue in China and why there's just no answer to Korea yet. I feel like it's not a mechanical issue, it's a strategical issue. When the Koreans beat the Chinese teams at IEM excuse me, All-Stars, it was on a macro level, on a strategic level. And I feel like if Starhorn does do well with the Korean players, it almost sends the incorrect message to the Chinese teams. Now, obviously, a new rule has been passed that they're only allowed 2 non-Chinese members per team, so Starhorn Royal Club is all filled up.
Yeah, but at the same token, it's interesting that Tencent is offering subsidies for foreign coaches willing to come over and sort of teach the players. And I think that's kind of more in the direction that the scene needs to go. And LGD has had a consultant with a Korean coach, and Royal Club does have a Korean coach on staff. So both of those factors are coming into play. So there's something of an even playing field from that level.
Definitely, this pause starting to stretch on again. The system, if you're new to LPL, it is a set of 2 games, so it's not a best of 3. Obviously, more points for 2-0ing. There are points for a draw, 0 points for a loss. So it's not like the LCS where it's just winner take all in the one game, which, you know, frankly, I really do like better than what the NA and EU LCS do. I think it allows the teams to look at adaptation from game to game as opposed to just a one best of strategy. But we're back on the Rift. Seems like the pause issues have been taken care of. Again, this is Starhorn Royal Club on the blue side, LGD on the red side. I'm Froskgren, being your play-by-play caster today, and with me again, Kelsey Moser, who's going to be taking up the color spot analysis. So level 1s, we've seen a lot of invades. What do you think will go down?
I do think that Starhorn Royal Club when we saw them in the Demacia Cup, they sort of just went for a conservative start. Then Young Glory went to punish them a little bit, being a little daring. It looks like both players are going for a more conservative start. I think what Starhorn Royal Club, having both the Jax and the Kassadin, wants to do is sort of try to ramp up a little bit. We might see more opportunities with early aggression from LGD Gaming, but it looks like both sides are, and we see Cola and Star having a little face-off there.
But it does look like it's actually going to be a, excuse me, a 2v2 matchup in that bottom lane. So Twitch is going to face off against UZI, which, I mean, a lot of AD carries, especially AD carries 17 who are technically mid laners, would consider that a death match, facing off against one of the best AD carries, not just in China, but possibly the world.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely what Starhorn Royal Club wants. They sort of want to use the Lucian power spike in the early game, in the mid game, to carry them over into the late game where they will rely on
Yep, they changed their mind about that. They're not going to be going toe-to-toe with UZI. They are going to make a lane swap and send Star down there to face the music.
And Star, in the past, has done really well in lane swaps on Ribbon, surprisingly. He's able to fall behind a lot, and then when we saw him, even against PDD, who's known as like a really strong 1v1 style top laner, he was able to get a solo kill from like 2-3 levels behind, so that's something that he's okay with on Ribbon.
Standard jungle starts, actually both sides of the top side of the map, so Insect is going to be starting his blue buff, while Quan does start the red buff there. So again, we do see the 2v1 in the top lane. Cola in a bit of trouble, does ping back to the jungle. Looks like it is going to be a double jungle medal for them, and looks like a slow push coming out of LGD so far.
Yeah, and it looks like Star is also going to fall back and try to follow Chuan around a little bit, but and it looks like LGD is sort of freezing a little bit while Starhorn is going for the early push. They'll probably want to take down that turret and try to pressure the top lane a little bit, but Star is going to answer this.
And obviously UZI on that Lucian does have the advantage in a fast push versus a slow push. Twitch wants to extend the lane phase, farm up, ramp into late game, whereas Lucian wants that power spike into mid game, so not surprising to see that there. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, it is going to be Korn and Wayless trading a few blows back and forth, but now Starhorn actually looking at a very early dragon. This is a 3-minute dragon. See if they can juggle their aggro effectively.
Yeah, so some things are going down. They're sort of abusing the fact that they don't expect LGD to have wards. I feel like Starhorn did this a lot in Demacia Cup as well, as they just assume that their opponents aren't having wards. I think this might teach them bad habits in the long run, but for now it's giving them a lot of good advantages. That 3-minute dragon right there.
With that 3-minute dragon, they are in position to look for a gank here. Unfortunately, Quan and Star are just going to back out of this, so they barely missed 4 people rushing over from that Dragon Tower, but Quan actually completely missed the fact that the Dragon was being taken with a sneaky safeguard, and now 4 members of Royal Club pushing on that bot tier tower, but now in the mid lane, Wayless and Corn again getting a little frisky with the damage.
Yeah, and it looks like Corn is actually wanting to pressure really hard. He's known for often taking farm advantages in difficult situations, and this is definitely a difficult situation going up against Wayless here. Right now, he's behind a little bit, but he might be able to rectify the situation if he can put on the aggression.
And now we've really broken back down into kind of that 4v0 meta. Which saw a lot of popularity, started to slow down. We saw some counters of it appear at All-Stars from OMG there, sending one person back, but first tower does fall in favor of Starhorn, but meanwhile, PYL looking for the gank. Corn getting pulled back, the Descendants has not gone back, the Flay goes down, he flashes, the Descendants connects, pulling him in. Corn so low, and it's going to be the first blood in favor of PYL.
And we talked a little bit about how Wayless would be pushed up on the Diana because she wants to try to rush that level 6 over Kassadin, but the fact that PYL was knowledgeable about that he knew that there was no pressure in the top lane and he could just roam even before level 6 and try to put Corn behind was really intelligent of LGD Gaming.
And definitely the only advantage for Starhorn there was the fact that the first blood did go over onto that support after the 4-minute mark is worth the full 400 gold. Getting a little tongue-tied here. But spells pretty bad news bears for Corn. They wanted to put the Kassadin down. Is effectively down right now. Small CS advantage now going over in favor of Wayless there. 31-26. But so far on Kassadin, not that bad.
Yeah, Corn is doing a very excellent job of keeping up, and it looks like the minion wave kind of pushed back a little bit, so he didn't...
Oh, but here comes PYL looking for round 2, knows that the flash isn't there, flashes forward, connects with the Descendants, there's 3 people there, there's the Flay, Corn has no flash and nowhere to go, is going to easily fall to Wayless in that mid lane, so second time's the charm gets punished again.
Yeah, and you see PYL's confidence on that Thresh champion and why he's kind of known for it. The flash forward, grabbing that death sentence, knowing that the flash is gone on Corn, even though Corn kind of caught him out, and the minion advantage was in Starhorn Royal Club's favor, but they had Chu on there, so they were able to still really catch him out there.
And definitely a really good showing, making sure that Wayless got that kill in the lane this time. You did talk about how PYL is a very strong Thresh player, but now Quan looking up in the top lane is spotted out by a ward, so we'll see if Bait is going to go down from Starhorn Royal Club. No one making that rotation over to help 3v3, but it looks like Lee Sin just going to say, you know what, never mind, back off.
Yeah, and it looks like Wayless is kind of just dancing around, sort of creating this zone in the mid lane, trying to dare Corn to take a little bit step forward, but it looks like there are a lot of pings going down in the top lane as Chuan approaches. Are they going to try to go for the top lane push? No, he's just going to kind of walk away. I think he went and placed a ward.
Definitely, but in this bottom lane, a little bit of CS disadvantage starting to really appear between Cola and Star here. Obviously, Star on a very long lane. It's very dangerous, even for Riven to be that far forward against Jax, who has the chase power on the CC. Quan and Insect about to face off here. Gets the safeguard, lands the Sonic. Big damage going down, doesn't want that isolation bonus, but now Corn getting involved with his ultimate. Oh, but a huge damage comes from Insect. Pops Quan like a balloon.
Yeah, so that was Chuan kind of hanging out, trying to make something
Fight
happen.
not done, though. PYL getting involved now. Wayless going deep, picks up a kill for himself, is now behind enemy lines. A good Lantern gets him out of that. LGD now on the same side, contesting for this blue buff. UZI trying to get some shots down. Isn't really doing much damage. Hasn't backed for any major items yet. Drawing aggro on the buff, but unfortunately, 3 members won very low on the side of Starhorn. LG gonna go ahead and aggro the blue buff again. It's just Corn and UZI really standing into a numbers advantage. The Death Sentence lands, the Diana goes in, the damage is huge, and UZI does drop. Insect hanging around, has no mana, now has the Twitch procced after him. It is going to be a flash from 17. Will he pick it up? The poison is ticking, and he gets it with the sponge? Contaminate? Oh god, this is why I don't play-by-play. The expunge. Spray and pay, rat-a-tat-tat. It's going to be a pickup from 17, and with that, LGD is in a perfect position to push down this second-tier top tower with no contestation.
So that was, at first it was a little bit of a miscommunication on LGD's part, but they sort of lagged behind Chuan as he was trying to make those plays. But as the rest of his team came back, they were able to capitalize on it. Starhorn Royal Club sort of lagged behind, stayed behind. They should have just given up that blue buff. Instead, they gave up more kills in a disadvantaged situation. Neither team really had a whole lot of vision there, so it was just kind of a numbers game.
And we talked again about how Insect was supposed to bring a superior vision control and punish Chinese teams for their lack of vision control. Unfortunately, didn't pan out for them there. And now we have a very scary Diana. Wayless, again, called the hero of the solo queue there, is now sitting 2-0-2, so rather healthy. Also 17 making his first appearance as an AD carry in the professional scene, sitting on 2 kills himself. Good seat for LGD and kind of a very slow start for Starhorn, which we did see a little bit in the Demacia Cup. But meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Cola getting caught out a little bit. Nothing's going to come of it. Good leaf strike away, but definitely in a little bit of danger there as Star has his ultimate procced and ready to go.
And when we did see LGD win in the spring split, they always took early advantages. So this is a very strong start from them. Usually when they took early advantages, they were able to close out fairly well. They actually even won a game against Edward Gaming.
Ooh, but wait a second, because here comes Insect looking to help alleviate some of this pressure from Cola right here. Just a little drive-by to make sure he calms down. Wayless making a bit of a roam, getting some wards down that. Ooh, but Insect does find Quan now. Huge damage from the isolation. The Dragon Rage going down to try to create some space, and Quan is going to walk away from that with a nice safeguard over the Dragon Wall.
So not a whole lot happening there. LGD Gaming does have the vision control of the Dragon area there, but Starhorn kind of knows they're there. I don't think they're going to make any move for it. But in the middle lane, we have a push going.
Definitely looking to shove that minion wave into the tower so they can try to make for a free, easy dragon while Starhorn is locked up in the mid lane. They are going to go ahead and aggro it. A ward is available, so Starhorn does realize that this is happening. No one so far making a movement there. Obviously, Korn coming off of base, so this looks like a free dragon for LGD.
Yeah, and I think that was just unfortunate timing with Insect backing there. I think maybe LGD had some vision on it because there is a ward down there, but I didn't catch.
But the rat-a-tat-tat going over on Cola. The flash did set it did not hook, but now PYL taking the tower. So many members getting involved on this. It is going to go over to 17 there, picking up the kill on Cola. And now you have 3 members of LGD in the bot lane. 4 with Star above, looking for the push on this tower. Insect not going to be able to take this, buddy, and is going to back off.
That was a well-coordinated decision, so they made it the point of pushing out the minion waves in the mid lane. They went to the dragon, they took the dragon, and they immediately rotated bottom. Cola should have sort of been noticing that, but again, they didn't have vision. And should have realized that they were going to maybe come for him and gone out of the area, but instead LGD was able to pick up that kill, pick up that tower, and keep pressuring the bottom lane with that advantage.
And LGD continuing to push their advantage. Have to be a little bit careful now because Cola is back off of spawn and in this. And yeah, with that, they are going to go ahead and back off. So first backs coming out, some important items already on the field. 17, though, kind of the big story of this game so far, sitting 3-0-0. Already has the first part of his cut list. Will be completing that Bork on his next back.
So people are talking a little bit about the Uzi thing. Uzi is his name, and it is based off of the gun, but he does like to be called the acronym sometimes just because of the way it sounds. So we're sort of honoring that preference.
Yes, and like we honor a couple of their nickname choices there. Not going to go into Alan's nickname as Drug now, but sometimes it happens. But back into this game, Uzi, whatever you want to call him, he is the AD carry for Starhorn, and unfortunately, he is not getting off to a good start here on that Lucian. Doesn't have his BF sword, or excuse me, his Bloodthirster finished. And again, like we said, 17 coming back into the game with that Bork already, so a very strong Twitch right now.
Yeah, and the fact that Uzi, as you mentioned, hasn't really been able to pick up the advantage.
Oh, but PYL is caught up by a bubble. Insect was in the area, isn't going to try to go for the proc there, but LGD really moving in hard for this control on this blue buff here, warding it up.
So that's something that you don't typically see. Chinese people fighting over vision control. Which was kind of happening, but they had the timer of the blue buff. It did spawn, and they were able to take that.
Looks like Starhorn Royal Club not able to really compete right now in the 5v5, doing a good job of denying Corrin his limitless resource pool in the form of that blue buff, are opting for a split push strategy. You see Cola in that bot lane trying to make something happen, but meanwhile, LGD trying to put the pressure onto the map into this mid lane.
And I cannot stress how impressed I am with LGD's map movements this game. They seem to just logically move from each progressive place to the next, and I think that helps that they are ahead. This often happens when Chuan has the Lee Sin. They're able to make these faster movements. It's like the team has more confidence when they have their picks.
But LGD getting really aggressive here. The tidal wave comes across. It's a nice distance, but the Colin coming across. PYL completely deletes him, and now Lee Sin has his Dragon Rage. LGD 2 down, 3 down. Oh, Quan's still barely alive. There he goes. It's 1 member left. Whalus flashes over into UZI. It's going to be another pickup. Unfortunately, Star's ultimate doesn't do much damage, and it's a 4-for-none trade. Excuse me, Cola went down. A 4-for-1 trade in favor of Starhorn Royal Club.
That was really nice flanking by Starhorn Royal Club, and also a very excellent tidal wave by Zero there that just caught out 3 members. And usually we don't see that used as an engage tool a lot, but it was used very well there. So that allowed them to sort of jump in. Insect waited off screen, and we are
gonna have the replay here. I really like the forward lantern here by PYL to allow 17 to be so aggressive, but immediately we talked about yesterday the difference between Nami players, Koreans versus Chinese. That is how you utilize the tidal wave. That was perfect placement from Zero right there to completely turn the fight in his favor.
Yeah, and I said engage, but the fight was already engaged, so I should have said teamfight reset, which is really what it was used for, and it was done very well.
Definitely. Fortunately for LGD, or excuse me, fortunately for Starhorn, with that 4-kill pickup, they also picked up that mid-tier tower, so very important in helping them get a footing back into this game. Obviously, UZI picked up 3 kills in that last fight, now sitting on 3-1-1, has his completed Bloodthirster, so is in a very nice spot as we come into the 15-16 minute mark for Lucian here, obviously a mid-game power spike champion. LGD needs to be a little bit more careful with their engages now, and they're so aggressive fighting over this vision.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by what I'm seeing from both teams. Like that reaction, the flank there, knowing that Insect was off screen, going in, Insect came in, was capitalizing on the tidal wave. It was like that was really well coordinated between Zero and Insect, and then UZI, of course, doing the cleanup there was done well as well.
And then going back to the coordination between the 2 Korean players, we saw this last time Insect and Zero showed. When they're kind of off by their own, and it's just the 2 of them, definitely you can tell that there is a language barrier that they don't share with the rest of the team. But so far, game going a little bit stagnant here. Not too many buffs right now for LGD to try to go ham on. Dragon is not available, but Star actually caught up in the top lane by Insect. Is going to go ahead and hippity hop away from that, so Insect's just going to hop back over the wall, but Starhorn finally getting these aggressive wards deep inside LGD's jungle.
And I do want to touch on, I'm a little bit disappointed in LGD Stars. We talked a lot about, you know, the Riven being really strong. We hyped that up a lot, but he just he hasn't been a factor. He wasn't a factor in those fights. He hasn't really pressured the map. But as the team prepares.
But hold on a second. Insect caught up in a little bit of trouble. Is going to leap out of the Thresh ultimate. Is used, but the Dragon Rage Insect back into Whalus, and that's going to be an easy kill. Insect definitely salt in the wound there, having his own move used against him. Fantastic move from Quan.
That was nice, and as I mentioned, Star being a non-factor, he was able to zone out Starhorn Royal Club, make them a little hesitant. I don't know why, since he's kind of under-farmed, but it worked out for them. Chuan was able to get the jump on Insect cleverly there, and they got the dragon off it, and they transition instantly for a tower. Again, very, very nice map movements here.
Definitely LGD showing that they have superior rotations right now that actually give them the gold lead, 1k gold lead as we come up into the 18-minute mark, 26 to 27k in LGD's favor here. Starhorn looking for some picks possibly, did walk across wards, so LGD knows that they're there, knows that they're coming, doesn't look like they're going to find anything, but again, as we come up into the 18-20 minute mark, what do you think is going to be the next point of contention for these teams? Obviously, LGD has superior dragon control right now, 2 out of the 3 dragons. They've made fantastic rotations, finally evened up the towers. But actually, it looks like Starhorn's going to 3 for 3.
Yeah, the towers are 3 for 3 now. It's going to be a little bit trickier for them to get the inner turrets right now with the gold being slightly lower down. They want to try to get more vision inside the jungles, make plays over those areas as Starhorn Royal Club is securing their blue buff here so that they can obtain those territories, kind of, if I can use that language, and then make moves on the tower. Of course, since this is China and it is the 20-minute mark, they might be heading for the Baron, but that wasn't necessarily something we saw a lot with LGD Gaming, and not necessarily with Starhorn Royal Club either last split.
And finally, at the 18-minute mark, Korn gets his first blue buff of the game on that Caston, and so definitely a very blue buff dependent champion has been denied it, finally gets it. Quan being a little cheeky with Zero here, does connect with the Sonic Wave, but isn't going to follow that up there. Both teams, again, just kind of statically farming. As we go down the line, though, the CS difference is pretty staggering across the board. A 40 CS lead for Wayless on Korn in that mid lane. To be expected, Korn had a bit of a rough early game with his Kassadin, but otherwise, the 152 to 121 in that top lane, Jax versus Riven. I don't know about you, but late game, I feel that Jax is going to be a much bigger threat than Star's Riven.
Yeah, I think Riven, with her changes, had a little bit of late game power put on, but definitely Jax is going to be the bigger threat. We also see Uzi I has a huge farm lead.
Oh, but hold on, because it looks like Cole is actually going in hard, flashes forward, gets the stun, but the tidal wave comes across, hits no one, and Jax Cole is going to fall, and now it's Korn onto Wayless. Wayless, half health, is going to fall down to Uzi I. Uzi I now looking for more. Star jumps in to try to make a disruption, stuns 2 people. Korn now very low, is going to rift walk out of it, but Uzi I is now the target. He's going to fall to 17. Twitch now on the chase there for Insect. Insect does have a good bonus here, has plenty of mana, will surely hop away, but Star going very hard for this. Insect trying to make some jukes here. Star still has the moves, has those jumps available. The slow connects, he has the red buff. You're not going to catch him. Oh, but he keeps trying. He finally connects, hits the stump, but the teleport comes in front of him.
Teleport was just enough to make...
No, you're good.
to make Star back off there. He had a little bit of extra time, and I think he was afraid that since they don't have vision on the left side of the map, that Starhorn Royal Club's members could be flanking there, even as the rest of his team was following up behind him. Still, a big factor that game, even though UCI is 50 gold, or 50 CS ahead of LGD's 17 there, Twitch is having a late game impact, as we see.
Insect caught up by a cheeky ward, and PYL is going to deny him that free back there, so not necessarily going to spell death, but definitely annoyance. But oh, meanwhile, LGD, classic Baron maneuver. They're going to start this at 21 minutes. It's completely unwarded from Starhorn, but the pings are going down. Starhorn is aware. Baron is at half health, going down very quickly, 25%. They're rushing over, and first Baron, LGD.
Yeah, that Blade of the Rune King on Twitch that was just completed a little while ago allowed them to take the Baron very quickly. So that combination of the passive and the Baron.
But the counter call from Starhorn Royal Club looking to push up this mid lane, unfortunately they're going to have to back out into the side brush, not having any vision on LGD here. So LGD pretty much gets an uncontested Baron and loses nothing for it.
Yeah, and we're seeing... So that was a very smart transition there. I think that they saw some members caught out by some of their wards on the other side of the map and decided to just, you know, brute force it with the superior Baron damage that they had. And they were able to get that instantly and then move out quickly. So we'll see if they're able to pressure with this lead, if they're able to get the advantages inside the jungle that transition into towers, like we mentioned before, or they might just go straight down lanes and say, you know what, we have a gold lead, we have a Baron buff, we want to pick some fights with our dive heavy composition.
And obviously we talk about this a lot, the Chinese aren't really known for their advanced warding. You do have a stealth champion in the game. You actually have 2 stealth champions, Kha'Zix and Twitch. Obviously LGD's 17 Twitch there has the favor currently with Baron, putting him in the driver's seat. On such an open map, Starhorn doesn't have the tools to anti-siege. And it looks like LGD is trying to make a pick as opposed to just shoving down a tower, because really they don't really have siege on their composition as well, which unfortunately means that this Baron might not translate for any advantage for them. Obviously, it's very easy to pick up those outer tier towers, but as soon as they start to approach for the inhibitor towers, the inhibitors themselves, it's really going to be about a dive, which against a Nami is not healthy. But we do see LGD migrating down to this bottom, trying to get some damage down. Again, they don't have the best siege comp. Ooh, but the Descendants lands on Insect. Nothing gonna follow it up right there, so a very perilous situation for both teams. I feel like LGD really can't dive safely, but Starhorn, again, doesn't have the tools on their composition to clear this wave. LGD now finally pushing in, getting decent damage onto this tower.
Yeah, so, as you're exactly right.
Ooh, but wait, the Descendants lands on Cola the Flay, but still, no one goes hard. The Sonic Wave did connect, but no Insect this time. Quan does have his flash available to him, so he doesn't have to rely on his safeguard to perform that Insect maneuver. Obviously, Cola's Jax is not the target he wants, but if those Descendants land on, say, UZI's Lucian or even Zero's Nami, things could go very wrong. Again, pushing up for this tower, the culling being used across, doing decent damage to the team, but mostly just there to clear out the wave to try to save this tower from pressure.
Yeah, and at this rate, they would have slowly probably pecked down the turret, but Insect was sort of gathering to maybe grab, and they are aware of the Dragon Timer, so they're going to go for a slightly safer objective instead. Try to sing that gold lead, maybe try to find an advantage in the other lane, catch Starhorn Royal Club off guard, and get some free damage there.
And like you said, definitely looking for those catches. Unfortunately, if you really look at their composition, they don't have the best pick team as far as long-range CC. Obviously, Diana can get a hold of someone decently well, but really their only tool for hard engage is that Death Sentence or Riven's all or nothing stun. Yeah. But it looks like LGD is going to burn down this mid-tier tower. Unfortunately, Starhorn just completely out of position, doesn't contest the objective at all.
They are going to be relying on that Death Sentence primarily, and it looks like PYL is heading the charge here. The Death Sentence does not connect, but they're going to be content with pushing off this wave for now. Let's see if their Baron buff has been dwindling away a little bit, but let's see if they have time to maybe pressure this.
Unfortunately for Starhorn, they just gave up a free tower, but this one it looks like they're going to try to stand here. I personally feel the mid-tier tower is more important than the side towers, so Insect waiting off into the wings, looking for a possible engagement here. Again, the skills that we're looking for are the Nami Tidal Wave and the Death Sentence Thresh Hook. These are the two probably most important cooldowns for both of these teams. Baron has ticked down now, so LGD does not have the Baron presence to continue pushing this tower. Looks like they're just trying to outposition Starhorn. Another culling coming across, clearing out this wave, allowing Starhorn time to get back into position. The Descendants lands on Zero, however, the team immediately goes in, the tidal wave comes out, but Zero completely explodes. It's now Insect kind of off into the side looking for engagement. Star is going to pressure him out, immediately going hard, but here's Korn. Star now incredibly low, Insect flashes the wall. LGD now on the chase. Cola in the middle of it all, isn't taking any damage, however, and now it's Wayless kind of in the middle, breaking down Starhorn's walls. That's one, that's two. That is a 3-for-1 trade in favor of LGD that is surely going to give them that free top tower.
Yeah, and that was just LGD being very patient. As we talked about, their main source of engagement was going to be PYL. He got that engagement, he went down for it. The team kept pursuing, and then that was another very persistent, very excellent play by Wayless to sort of get in there and to get the Zonias off for his team to catch up.
And we do have the replay on that. Zero, of course, eating that Death Sentence does get the important cooldown of the tidal wave off, however, but unfortunately no one followed it in. Insect a little bit on his own here as Star pretty much chases him out. A good re-engage by Korn, however.
Yeah, and that was Star able to soak up a lot of the damage. He didn't go down. I think that Kassadin is a little bit underfarmed. Wayless, we see diving, going in on Uzi, finding the correct target, and then baiting out some of the cooldowns with his Zonia's Hourglass as he waits for the rest of the team to catch up.
And we talked about how they didn't have any kind of tools in their composition to look for a tower siege, but they definitely had tools for the dive. The only thing stopping them was, of course, the Nami tidal wave, but that went out before the dive even happened. So knowing that that cooldown wasn't available, knowing that Zero was dead, I feel like LGD made a fantastic call knowing that they could get away with that dive, especially on a Kassadin.
And their sticking between the Diana and the Lee Sin and the Ribbon is just really, like, once they get a hold of someone, once that death sentence goes down, they're just going to stay on that target until it's dead.
I feel like LGD was considered the underdogs here, and so far into this game, with Baron about to spawn in 5 seconds, they've been so objectively oriented, and I feel like a lot of people are talking about the Korean players on Starhorn, the Korean players on World Elite, the new Korean coaches on World Elite. A lot of people overlook the fact that LGD went the entire split with a Korean coach.
Yeah, so they've actually had their Korean coach, their Korean consultant for a longer time. The teams have openly admitted that their Korean coach, they think, has helped them a lot. Also, there's the Chuan factor. It's really strange. I don't know how many games we've seen without him playing Lee Sin, but when I see him play other champions, I feel like his sense of rotation or their sense of the map is just not as good as when it's like he understands, oh, I follow the shockwaves or something. But he moves around the map, the team moves around the map when they have that confident pick with them. And they're going on the Baron right now.
Definitely a key player indeed, and that Baron is at 25% HP. Insect was in the area, but unfortunately without any wards, that is going to be the second Baron of the game for free given to LGD. This is not where Starhorn wants to be. Star in that mid lane, looking aggressive, and the teleport was actually wasted and burned on a minion. The flash out from PYL doesn't find the Flay, but LGD is showing that they mean business and they are crushing down this mid lane.
And that was, again, the Baron just going down really fast. They know how fast they can take Baron. They know they can sneak it just really quickly before Starhorn has a chance to react.
But Quan, so deep into the enemy team, in the middle, isn't taking damage, is going to safeguard out, but Starhorn so low. Korn finds the death sentence and is now in the middle with the Zhonya's Hourglass pop, is going to rift walk out of it. Barely any health. The damage is ticking. He finally goes down to Wayless. Again, a 4-for-1 response from LGD. They are destroying these team fights and dismantling Starhorn, and now with that the inhibitor falls and they're looking on the Nexus towers. Oh, but Wayless finds UZI, completely deletes him from the map. It is going to be LGD taking down one Nexus tower, looking at the second one. It is now going to be an open Nexus, and the first game of the set, Starhorn LGD, goes to LGD.
Yeah, that was an excellent... They got the Baron, they went, they dove really hard, they took the tower, they took the inhibitor, they just kept finding picks. Look how happy they are. They should be happy. They're excited. They're going to have this huge confidence boost to go into game 2. When we talk about Chinese aggression, Chinese diving, I felt like that was really missing from last split, except for with LGD Gaming. They always wanted to play that traditional dive really hard. This allowed them to get wins off of World Elite, off of Invictus Gaming, off of Edward Gaming, and so now they're picking that up here. They've shaken themselves off. They've gotten their happy picks. They're confident with Wayless, and it's really showing.
So what happened there? Just to kind of break it down, to calm down, obviously no one expected LGD to win. I mean, I think everyone I've ever talked to is like, the top 3 teams are going to be EDG, OMG, and Starhorn Royal Club. LGD was considered one of the weakest teams, especially all those roster swaps going in, the fact that they lost their Star AD carry player, not to be confused with Star, their top laner, but we are talking about STYZ, of course, now on a 6-month bench, quote-unquote, ban. How was LGD able to pull this off? I mean, fantastic objective control. 4 out of 5 dragons, 2 barons completely uncontested. Wayless didn't get, not Wayless, Korn didn't get his own blue buff until 19 minutes in the game.
And I think there are definitely the gaps in Starhorn Royal Club. They're sort of relying on LGD, their opposing teams, to make the typical Chinese mistakes, to not have wards, to not make the correct rotations, and it kind of bit them here. They didn't adjust their own play, they didn't create their own wards. Also, the miscommunication errors were somewhat evident. LGD was looking much more coordinated, and part of that again was them following Wayless's dives. When Wayless had that Zhonya's, he would go so deep, and Tuan as well. That coordination, they were really able to make Wayless the star there, and it worked out really well for them. Just finding the target, using their picks to stick to them, and it worked really well.
So closing comments before we head up into the next game. Again, this isn't a best of one like the NA or EU LCS. This is a set of 2. It's worth circuit points. So there are still time for Starhorn Royal Club to walk away with some points this match if they decide to win the next game and go for a draw. What type of bans do you think we're going to be looking at? Do you think Chuan is going to get his Lee Sin again? Was that the priority ban? Are they going to be looking at targeting Diana?
I think that, yeah, Lee Sin definitely usually was a priority ban. When teams did ban it, they found a lot more success. He would play Olaf picks, he would play things he was slightly less comfortable with. So I think that could be a smart ban here. As the split went on, they sort of learned to ban that Lee Sin, and they had a lot more success. Banning the Riven, Star is really confused when he's not playing Riven. It'll be great to see if they've sort of shorn up these champion pool weaknesses. I know Wayless has a fairly deep champion pool, so that might not be the best target. And again, like, who's going to ban Diana, right? That's sort of a strange pick out there, but they might because they're not used to playing against it.
We've seen a lot of strange pickups so far, but we're going to go ahead and give a little break before we go into the second game here. Again, I'm Flaskra, and filling in for Nero today is going to be Kelsey. On my job, actually, the colorcaster this time. I'll be your play-by-play. Apologies again. We are streaming here instead of on the Games in Asia stream due to technical difficulties, but we will be right back. What did they say in the LCS? Don't touch your browser? Yeah, that's too corny for me. We'll be right back. Have a good one, guys.
范冰冰健康美丽课堂，每天动一动，每天大声笑，每天睡个饱。还有天窝蜂蜜柚子茶，蜂蜜带来健康，柚子带来美丽，健康美丽喝洒哟。天窝蜂蜜柚子茶。
Okay, guys, I am back early, so I did finally just touch base with Nero. Excuse me. He was having a little bit of internet issues, but it seems like he got everything worked out, so we are going to go ahead and converge together. A huge thank you again to Kelsey for stepping in last second notice to help me do a duo cast for this. So, unfortunately, we're not going to be casting any longer onto this stream, which is my personal stream. We're going to move over to the official Games in Asia stream, and I'm going to be touching base with Nero again. So, hope to see you guys all there, and I hope that the cast continues to be the quality that you guys expected. Again, to underline the point, next week we are going to be on a different stream. It is going to be the Games in Asia, or / Twitch Games in Asia, but it will be a stream that's going to be provided by Garvey, because we're promoting and partnering up with Twitch, so that's very exciting. So Kelsey, do you have any shoutouts that you want to give?
I just wanted to thank you guys for bearing with me here as I came in and did an impromptu cast with you. Shoutouts to Games in Asia, shoutouts to Lolly Sports, On Gamers, Gosu Gamers, all the sites that I represent, Paravine, and enjoy the stream on Games in Asia Twitch.
So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and shut this down, give it a little bit of time to rewind. I'll see you guys over on Games in Asia. Have a good one.
就在4大点 PGA.PLU.CN-520，
同时登录英雄联盟职业联赛官方房间并订阅，就有机会获得5000元的超级大奖。